I started an Advent pattern bundle on Ravelry 2 years ago, and I've been adding to it ever since. It now has more than 200 knit and crochet patterns in it. This year, I have 10 new amazing Advent patterns that have come out between last season and this one. There's sure to be at least one that has you tempted to tear into those mini skeins right now. First up is the Yorkshire Crochet Along Blanket by Mima Makes. It came out in July of 2024 and it retails for 9 Great British pounds. So this is a blanket made up of 12 different kinds of granny squares, all inspired by the Yorkshire countryside. I'm trying to make sure that I'm saying that correctly. I think that's right. It's got lace, it's got baubles, it's super beautiful, and it's perfect for Advent. So you can use fingering or DK weight, but I think fingering is a little bit better suited for this. For the fingering weight version, you need about 79 yards per square, which is pretty much equal to 1 mini skein, about, if it's a 20 gram mini. For the DK weight one, you need 93 yards per square. I'm pretty sure that a 20 gram DK weight mini is not 93 yards. So I think you would only get like half a square out of a DK weight mini. So that would be much more challenging. So I think better suited for fingering weight for this one. 24 to 20 gram minis is going to be perfect. And for the background, you need just over 1,000 yards, which is about 3 skeins. Now, this was originally a crochet along where the designer had you make 2 squares per week. So they would release, I think they would release it like 1 pattern a week. You'd make the 2 squares out of that 1 pattern. You did that for 12 weeks. And then there was 6 weeks to do the border. So this pattern has lots and lots of video support because there was tutorials released during that time. I think this one is really fun. I'm actually thinking about making this one of my Advent patterns for this year, which is why I wanted to start with it, because I'm bursting to get started. I think it's going to be so fun to do a different square just about every day, or I'm going to try to at least do them every day. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go 1 through 12 and then 1 through 12 or do the same square 2 days in a row. Stay tuned and I will figure it out. Next up is the Knitvent Vignette by Helen Stewart. This came out in October 2024 and retails for 6 Great British pounds. So this is actually a collection of patterns, but the image that I'm going to be sharing is the one that's shared for this pattern set. Knitvent is something really cool, and I'm not sure I fully understand it because I haven't actually participated in many years. I think I actually did participate like a long time ago. But anyway, the first pattern that's shown is simply gorgeous. And I think for that alone, I wanted to include it. It's this stunning, massive shawl. Super beautiful. The colors are lovely. It looks so cool to make, but you'll also get 5 additional knitting patterns, including the large scrappy one, which I think is the one featured here. And then it says at least 1 shawl. Either 1 or 2 patterns will be released each week for 5 weeks. So it's actually already started and the patterns are coming out. They started releasing Thursday, November 7th, and they finish releasing on December 5th. So that still gives you a lot of time to choose from the patterns that are included. Now, this shawl itself, you can either do with 24 20 gram minis or 5 full skeins of yarn. So if you're getting an Advent that is one of those where you like open a new skein each week, this could be a potential for you as well. If you're down for a mystery, you might like Unwind by Cosy Knitting Co. This one came out in November of 2024 and retails for $9 US. I'm calling this one sort of a mystery because technically it's a cowl pattern. We do know that was designed to go with the Lamb Good Fibers Advent, but on Ravelry, the photos are not going to be released until the end of December. So you won't actually know exactly what the final product is going to be, but you can get access to the pattern earlier than that. I think that's kind of interesting. This one uses 12 minis, about 28 yards or like a third of each mini plus a full skein. So this pattern actually could be really great for your Advent leftovers. So maybe if you want to wait it out, kind of see what it looks like at the end of December, this could be a great project to do in January and use up anything you have left over from your Advent project. This is the Birds of a Feather blanket by While They Dream. It came out in April of 2022 and retails for $7 US. Now, the reason this one came up on my radar for this year is because the pattern received an update in April of 2024, and it took it from a one color square version to a two color version. When I saw this come up on my Instagram, I squealed. I love how this looks in two colors. It's so different, and I think it could be really cool for an Advent. Now, bear with me. I've got some math to share with you because this is not a blanket you're going to finish with one Advent. I guess you could, but it would be really small. But if you're looking to kind of combine multiple Advents, use up multiple Advents, or even add in your own stash, I think this could be a really good one. Okay, so for the DK, or it is a DK weight pattern, sorry, it's a DK weight pattern. You could hold fingering weight double, or if you have a DK weight Advent, that would be perfect. So let's see. My best estimate for yarn, I did do a little research because part of the pattern information is listed on Ravelry, part of it's listed on the vlog, like a little more details on the vlog, but you do have to purchase the pattern to get everything. So it was made with a monthly club that went on, I think, for a year, made by Haley Bailey's 2022 Bird Club. It was a DK weight yarn. I believe you got a skein each month, and one skein made 7 5-inch by 5-inch squares. Okay. So that's the start of the information. So if you had 12 skeins of DK weight yarn, that would be about almost 3,000 yards, 2,772 yards of the colorful yarn. You would then need to double that because you would also need all the yarn for the like natural colored squares. So in total, 5,544 yards of DK weight yarn. So it's a lot of yarn. This is not going to be a blanket. Again, you're going to finish in December, but it could be something you start. So this made a blanket that was 65 by 65 inches. That's just a little over 5 feet. So not massive, but a good sized blanket. Now, if you had DK weight minis, which are roughly 50 yards, it's actually really hard to find out how much yardage is in a DK weight mini. Obviously it varies as it does with fingering weight, but about 50 yards is what I got. So a full Advent, 24 minis at 50 yards gives you 1,200 yards. I'm having trouble reading the numbers. So you would need to at least double it. So let's say you had 2 DK weight minis or DK weight Advents, that would be 2,400 yards. So you'd be really close to being able to make your blanket with that amount of yarn. Like that could be all of your colorful squares, and then you could get just as much yarn in a neutral. Okay, so you would need at least 2 DK weight Advents plus solid yarn to match. Maybe if you threw in some leftovers from there, you could make this size blanket, or you could change it up from a square and make a rectangle instead. Now, when it comes to doing the mix and match of making the colorful, like where it's 2 colors, I don't really know. But the good thing about blankets is you can kind of do whatever you want and just build on it over the years to come. Now, if that blanket was a little too much for you, you might like the Little Squares Knitted Blanket by Julie Harrison. It came out in July of 2024 and it retails for $10 Australian. So this is also a DK weight pattern, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it with something else, or you could hold your yarn double. Fingering weight held double is DK weight, and this is another pattern where you're not going to get it out of just one Advent, but you could add to it over the years or combine Advents and work on it throughout 2025. I really like this pattern. I think it's so cute and really creative. So you make these long strips, which makes it a portable project and something that's great to just like add things to it as you can. And you alternate between a main color, which becomes your background when you assemble it, and then little blips of color. I think that could be really, really fun. And then you sew everything together. Now, I had kind of a hard time figuring out if you pick up stitches to work these alternating garter rows, because you've got garter going up and down with the strips, and then you've got garter going side to side, like to connect them. I'm hoping that you don't cast on all those stitches. I think you must pick them up, knit them, bind them off, and then like at some point you sew. But I had a really hard time figuring that out, and I did not actually purchase the pattern to look into every single detail. So maybe do a little research before you grab that pattern and just see if that's something, like if the assembly is something that you would want to do. This could be a really good long-term project to add in Advent leftovers as well as scraps throughout the year. I just think it would be a really fun one to have, you know, something that's just consuming your leftovers. Now, good news is there is also a crochet version. With crochet, I am pretty certain that all of it is going to be seamless, that you can kind of pick it up as you go. Even if it's not written that way in the pattern, it should be pretty easy to adapt. And I'll put both the knitted and crochet versions down below. Number 6 is the Advent Wishes Cowl by Crystal T Knits. It comes out in November of 2024 and it retails for $7 US. This is the only pattern I have on the list today that is not yet released, but it does come out on November 22nd, and I do have photos of it so that I can share all of the details. So this is a really pretty cowl that's got just a little bit of pattern to it. Nothing too wild, nothing that's going to take too much time. It's kind of the perfect projects to just work on a little bit every single day. It is fingering weight, and you will need either 24 10-gram minis or 12 20-gram minis. Obviously, if you have 24 20-gram minis, you could also make this. You just have quite a bit left over, or you can make 2 or one of the other projects that I mentioned. That is great for using up scraps. The designer says, for me, this has been a great year to reset and try to finish projects and do simple things. And the Advent Wishes Cowl is the perfect pattern to go with how I'm feeling. It's simple. There's not a lot of thinking to it. It has just a little bit, just a little patterning, just enough to keep you interested. Tara of Crystal T Knits has given us a special coupon code again this year. If you use the code LOVE20, you're going to get 20% off any of her patterns. So the Advent Wishes Cowl, any of her other Advent patterns, she has several, or just any of her patterns in general. And that code is going to be good through January 15th of 2025. This one is a little bit different. It's Gnana's Visit by Sarah Shira. It came out in November 2024 and it retails for $10.50 Canadian dollars. If you haven't seen the Gnomes by Imagine Landscapes, where have you been? No, these are really, really fun. They are knitted and they're the most adorable little gnomes. A lot of them have kind of a like one piece body, and then you might have a couple other things to assemble or attach. But for the most part, they're really, like, as far as toys go, the assembly is not that bad. Because I'm definitely one of those people who like doesn't love a bunch of different pieces and attaching and things for assembly, but I feel like with these, I do okay on them. So here's what's really cool about this pattern. And she's done this every year for the past few years. So this is a mystery. It's a mystery gnome. You know a little bit about it, but every day you get either a piece of the pattern or a little bit of Gnana's story, and you get it delivered right to your inbox in your email. And so it's a fun little thing to open every single day. And Sarah puts a lot into this. I did this last year. I didn't actually make the gnome, but I just received the emails and read the story and enjoyed watching other people make it. It was very fun. So here's a little bit about Gnana, and this is all from the Ravelry page. It says it's time for the family to visit Gnana for the longest night, and everything with an N also has a G. I just love that. A perplexed Gnana arrives at the family's empty cottage ready to visit them. The pantry is empty, the house is dark, and Gnana will need to find a different way to celebrate the longest night. I just think that's so cute. So that's like a little snippet of what you're going to get. And then every single day from December 1st to the 21st, you get an update. Some days you get a clue to knit, and some days you just get parts of the story, special treats, or a recipe. Very fun, right? It's super fun. So all you need for this is 4 20-gram mini skeins. So super easy to gather up something from your stash that you already have. Maybe you can kind of steal from an Advent that you're not using altogether. They also have a ton of yarn companies that they're partnering with. There are dyers in the US. Where did I write this down? There's kits available from dyers in the UK, Europe, US, Canada, and Australia. So you can find all the information on that pattern page and at Imagine Landscapes. Number 8 is the Sonder Advent Wrap by Mariana Mueller. It came out in June of 2024 and retails for $7 US. It also has a pay what you can format, so you can also get it for less than that as well. Now, this is a gorgeous, stunning crochet wrap. It's long and skinny, and it has this texture on it that I have no idea what it is. It looks beautiful. I can't quite figure out the construction of it, but at some point there's kind of like a diamond, so I think it might start in the center and kind of work its way out from there. But if you crochet, you will maybe be able to figure it out better than I can. I do crochet, but I haven't done anything quite like this. Now you'll need 12 fingering weight minis plus a full skein to do a pattern similar to this one. Now the word Sonder, it's an interesting word. I'm not sure where the origin is from, but the designer has a definition for it: the realization that we are all living a unique life. And when I looked this up, there was a lot of different versions of kind of the same thing, like basically understanding that everyone has different things going on and we're all part of this together. I don't know, it's just like an interesting thing, and I think a beautiful name for a pattern as well. I hadn't heard of this designer before, but looking through all their other patterns, they're also stunning. So if you're into crochet designs, especially shawls, you should check her out. Number 9 is the Cozy Country Advent Scarf by Lucien Crochet. It came out in August of 2023 and it retails for $4.99 Australian dollars. So this is the scarf version of the blanket that I love so much from Lucien Crochet, which is this blanket behind me that I just finished with my October countdown. Also, this blanket that Toaster is using right now. And I have one that I made myself last year in December. I'm not sure how I missed the scarf coming out last year, but I wanted to still include it in today's kind of like pattern wrap up because I think it's really, really cute and such a doable thing to do throughout the month if a blanket is a little bit much. When I did this blanket in October, it took me around 2 to 2.5 hours every single day to do a stripe. And that's a lot. That's a lot of crochet for every single day. So if you're looking for something a little more manageable, the scarf might be the right thing for you. So you'll need 24 10-gram minis or 12 20-gram minis plus a full skein if you want to do the little like stripes in between. I eliminated that from my blanket, but you can do either or, I would guess, on the scarf. This also could be a great one for leftovers. So if you only use half of your minis, you know that you can use 24 10-gram minis to make this whole scarf and just pair it together with a single skein from your stash. I'm always looking for stash busting things, and so I think I'll have to add this to my Advent leftovers pattern bundle as well. We're wrapping up the list with the Yarn Adventure Blanket by Linda Rennick. It came out in December of 2023 and it retails for $5 Australian dollars. This blanket is simple, but it is stunning. I saw the picture of this and I was just like, I have to have that on my bed. Like, I think that looks super, super cool. It's essentially all linen stitch squares that are joined together seamlessly to make a gorgeous blanket. But what I like so much about this pattern is it's very well researched and thought out. There's instructions for a bunch of different gauges and a bunch of different sizes. So let me tell you the actual details. Let's see. There are instructions for 7 different yarn sizes from 2-ply lace up to super chunky. And you can see they have all the squares shown here, like what it will look like if you use the same stitch count and the same number of rows, which I just think is too cool. There's also 3 different blanket sizes, from a 39-inch square to a 79-inch square. Of course, when you are making squares, you can always like adjust that and make it a rectangle instead if you want. There's also 2 bonus add-ons to crochet the square with 2 or 3 colors, which could be fun. I actually don't know if I've done linen stitch and crochet, but it looks beautiful and I think it would make such a great blanket. Now in the main photo, this one I believe is DK, but they did share some of the math for fingering weight, which is what I feel like a lot of people have when it comes to Advents. So let's see, fingering weight, you would need 49 minis. So obviously not going to make that happen with one Advent, but you could combine 2 together again with a couple of leftovers and make that happen. So this would make a 39 by 39 inch blanket, which is pretty small. But if you have 100 mini skeins, if you want to really use up some Advents, I know a person that has a few that haven't been used. You could make a 59 by 59 inch blanket, or if you have 169 minis, you could make a 79 by 79 inch blanket. There's also a super handy chart that you can use to figure out what yarn weight you have, how many squares you need to make different size blankets. I just feel like this is for like, you know, all the thought to be done for you, such a handy pattern to have. I've added these patterns and so many more from this year and years past into my Ravelry Advent bundle, which I will have linked down below. Or you can check out my Advent Leftovers bundle, which includes tons of patterns that use 10 grams or less of 12 to 24 colors. I would love to know what you are making for Advent this year, so let me know down below, and hopefully you got some inspiration from these patterns today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!